Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you guys are coming from previous sessions, as this will be the last session of Nest Level Day 1. I'm really glad to be your host again. As usual, we've got the same old reminders. I'm sure that you're sick or tired of hearing at this point, but hopefully you'll find it amusing again tomorrow. Just make sure that you are downloading the VIP app if you are joining us via your mobile phone. It will allow you to have a much more easier experience. And as you know, before we get started in the actual session, which will start at 10:15, we'll watch a video first. So speak to you guys soon. morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're joining us from. Welcome to What is the Role of Media Communications in Driving Sustainability? As I mentioned, my name is May, and I'm your host for this session. Just some house rules, and I'm pretty sure that you guys are familiar with this at this point. This is just to ensure that we have a smooth flowing session today. So keep an eye on the chat box and make sure not to flood it with spam. So you can catch important announcements and links that way you can engage with us via Slido. If you see a code in the chat box, that's to insert it in Slido so you can insert all the questions that you might have for Tina later in this session. And of course, have your mobile phones ready so you can scan the QR code when you see it on the presentations to check out any career opportunities that we might have in the Nestlé markets around the globe. Okay, let's begin with this session. So introducing the speaker for today will be Tina Blücher, Global Head of Media Partnerships at Nestlé. Tina is an expert consultant in marketing communications and digital transformation with excellent leadership and negotiation skills. I'm excited to hear from Tina about what we do at Nestlé to leverage today's opportunities to be ready in the near future. With that, Tina, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. And a warm welcome to all of you for joining this session. You know, what I want to speak today about is our great function on media communication. And before I do that, I really want to thank the team behind Nestlé for bringing us together today, for preparing and also for supporting today. So secondly, I really want to thank all the other speakers that are, scheduled before and after me, because many of our speakers from agencies, from digital partners, and from all around the world, they are connected to our media communication work we do at Nestlé. And last but not least, I really want to thank everyone for really supporting on media communication around the world. You know that we are in more than 180 countries active, and you can imagine that the media function is run very much in hand with our local markets everywhere around the world. So me, myself, and our team here in the global marketing, we are more or less trying to guide and to consult, but the real work on media communication is really driven by in-market teams with their agencies, with their partners locally to fully leverage the opportunities everywhere. So what I want to speak today on is on our ambition to engage consumers, accelerate growth, and drive sustainability. And you may wonder why driving sustainability is a topic for media communication. And this is exactly what I want to speak in my third part later during the session. So if we could move to the next slide, I want to kick off with our current reality. So, I have joined this global role 3.5 years ago, and I must say this was a kind of a decade almost of change, not only the pandemic, but also the digital transformation Nestlé went through. You can see at the left-hand side our Global Media Council, and this was brought to life in 2018, so prior to the pandemic. And it is our leadership team where we work with the top 15 markets, for example, India, Malaysia, Australia, but also around the world. So also joining US, LATAM, and European markets. And this team is conducted to drive with leadership our transformation in the media function. So as you see here, this group had to move to a more remote work. And I'm so glad that this group could come together just last week. So we were gathering for the first time since 2020, February, here in Switzerland, come together, and we were jointly working on our roadmap for the near future. Secondly, I want to say, and this is the picture at the right-hand side, this was the first in-person meeting we did with our global media agency teams. So I just want to underline our media agencies are a key partner to us. And as you can see, it's a smaller team, it's the leadership of those agencies. We were so glad to come back and also to discuss, but also to lead the current important topics. The function is very much about media planning, media buying, optimization, but also at the end, evaluation, reporting, and understanding the outcomes. So I would say it's a perfect function to work in for people that are interested in consumer understanding, but also in strategies on media, on how to reach people, how to engage, and also how to drive business results. Also at the left-hand side, I put one slide on the new reality. Yeah, you know that in the last years, the pandemic, the working from home, the staying at home, the mindset shifts we saw was also driving changes in media consumption, but also in shopping behavior around the world. And this is also what our, let's say, team of media communication experts around the world is really taking care of, understanding these changes, adapting the media planning and buying, and moving that into opportunity areas. So if we can move to the next slide, I quickly wanted to share with you on media communication this huge shift in the advertising industry. And here you see global figures, how the different media have been evolved when it comes to advertising spend. So you can see that multiple media have declined, that digital has grown dramatically and will grow. You see here data until 2026. And at the end, the two major media channels that are, let's say, most of priority and also for us at Nestlé are digital and TV. So to give you a figure on Nestlé, on our side in the CPG industry with food and beverage, we have started a bit later than some other industries to drive digital transformation. But currently we are at 54% digital media share. So more than 50% of our investments globally are entering into digital, and we have countries, especially in Asia, where this share is already much higher. So we have some countries where this digital share is already beyond 70%. So if we move to the next slide, we can see here that this is not only the investment, but also the complexity. So as digital media is growing and programmatic spend keeps increasing, you can see here at the left-hand side, the programmatic media, let's say, service layers that you need to activate to bring a very strong programmatic media planning and buying into implementation. From left, the marketeers, to the individual ad on your mobile phone, for example, you have multiple suppliers and technologies. And this is a kind of a complexity challenge that we face not only at Nestlé, all the industry, all the players have to deal with it. So what are we at Nestlé doing here to get, let's say, a leadership position and also to drive the excellence in programmatic media is, first of all, we developed a global programmatic BPI. So we are now able to measure the quality of our own programmatic media. Secondly, we are working on a quality CPM. That means we want to ensure that not only the cheapest buying is activated, but the most qualitative in regards to the cost. Also, we have evolved our ad verification, and this is done with an international leading partner, IAS. Here we measure the viewability of our ads, the invalid traffic, and also the brand safety. You are clearly surely joining me that a company with more than 2,000 brands that is activating the brands in different countries all over the world and many multiple platforms, need to take care on the brand safety, that we are not shown in violence or any, let's say, drugs environments in the internet. And this is what we have really taken care of in the last years. And last but not least, I want to share with you that we are in implementation of a cookie-less roadmap. We are preparing for future with less or even with no cookies. So if we move next, you can see that currently over half of our digital media is bought programmatically. And you can imagine that this in more than 180 markets and more than 2,000 brands is a lot of advertisement that we need to take care of and that we need to optimize. So how are we working to make marketing engaging? And if we move to the next slide, we can see here that I want to share with you in the next chapter a few examples how we at Nestlé engage with consumers through media communication. And next, please, the first you need to know is that at Nestlé, we have a framework in place. It's called Brand Building the Nestlé Way. It's a framework that's guiding all marketeers around the world on how to build brands. And especially it's important for the media communication experts to understand this engagement, how it works, and how to drive business results. Engagement is located in this red room that you can see here. And this is all about a digital first, audience first engagement that we build through processes, through joint working with our agencies, hand in hand, media, creative, content, production, and other implementation teams. So let me quickly share with you one example, and let's move to the next slide. You can see here one of our famous brands, KitKat. KitKat has a big idea: have a break, have a KitKat. And most of you are probably familiar with some of the advertisement we have done in the last years. This example here comes from the Australian market. They have implemented a campaign idea on snap out of it. It's addressing the, let's say, the long days in the Wild West, where the cowboys have to overcome some moments of fatigue or of loneliness. And this is all about the campaign that I will share with you in a moment. So KitKat was positioning the brand as when you need to snap out of it, have a break, have a KitKat. So let's go a bit into this executional work we've done. Next slide, and you can see that one of the key success factors to deliver very strong results and a significant ROI increase in this campaign was that we started really early to build our audience and data strategies at the beginning with key partners, for example, YouTube and Facebook, to understand their signals, to understand the social listening, and to understand really the data that is available around KitKat, around the category, around the consumer needs account, around the behavior. So in integrated workshops, jointly with the brand team of KitKat, Wunderman Thompson, Meta, Google, and UM is a media agency in this country for us, we have then started to work really along this BBNW process to set up the right media and content strategies, to define the contact points and formats, to create assets that are very creative and very, I must say, attractive to our people out there. And then also to bring this in a measurement to understand success. And this was kind of a circular process to optimize the whole campaign. So on the next slide, I want to share with you a few of the creative examples. And have in mind, the first one is regarding elections that were taking place in Australia. So it's on a cultural moment that we activated locally. So if you could click, then let's have a look. So unfortunately, I could not hear the sound. Maybe it's, yeah, you can try to activate the sound. That would be helpful. But if not, we go just, and I can speak over it. Let's have a look.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
So it's getting a bit mixed now up here. So the first was on the election. The second one, maybe we try this one, is leaving work on a Friday. Like it's time targeted. So we activated the second example really then in the Friday afternoon area. Maybe we can try the second one. Is it working? No, it's not working. Okay, so to conclude, different moments, different creatives, they were all kind of humorous, giving some fun, giving some smile to people, yeah, and also this feeling to snap out of it. And you can see it was on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And the right-hand side, there was also one stream on new media opportunities. This time it was Tinder to also activate when you see your ex on Tinder, yeah, and then snap out of it. So I'm very sorry that the creatives were not really working here, but I hope you got a glimpse of this moment-based, very creative, very strongly in subgroups, working audiences to activate the campaign idea and to drive really very strong, attractive consideration for the Kit Kat brand. A second example, and if you move to the next slide, was brought to life in Taiwan. It's the Klim Good Night milk powder. And here we acted a audience first approach. So we understood by analyzing the behavior of the consumers, their searching pattern for insomnia, and we adapted the approach throughout the day. So as you can see further down, there were plenty of different layers at certain moments, how to activate those kind of moments when people search what can they do if they are not able to sleep well. And these activations were then really individualized with the right messages at the right time to drive interest and then also to drive trial. You can see here that sales volume online exclusive reached nearly 30,000 cans in the first month. That was really beyond expectation. And this campaign was also awarded a YouTube Best Strategy Award. So we were very proud of that. And if you can go to the next slide, please, we can see here also these really significant, strong results for this campaign. So plus 21% in awareness, plus more than 870% in search volume. And then also the sales increase that I already mentioned doubled versus the initial plan. So also very interesting, we could measure the new entrants into the category. And at the end, this very audience first targeted data understanding in sub-segments driven marketing campaign was really very successful. So last point I wanted to share on consumer engagement, and if you could move to the next slide, is that in this environment, in programmatic media, we as a company, we have decided to be best in class also in responsibility and transparency. So we have implemented and updated a very large guidance for all our markets on digital media responsibility. Here you will find, guidance on how to invest into, let's say, safe environments, what to do in crisis or what to do in this programmatic ecosystem. Secondly, we also decided to be a first partner with a few other industry advertisers in an initiative called Global Alliance for Responsible Media under the umbrella of the World Federation of Advertisement. So we are actively driving responsibility and transparency in this complex environment, for example, to reduce hate speech, to make the internet better, to make the advertisement better, to ensure privacy for our consumers. And last but not least, what we also do is we are testing and investing in studies. For example, in the UK, a programmatic supply chain transparency study to learn more on the quality of our programmatic media and what we can improve jointly with the industry. So all in all, I would say a huge program on engagement with consumers and driving sales. So now I would like to come to my third topic. How can media communication support driving sustainability? And if you could move to the next slide, we will see here that Nestlé is already, since the beginning, a driver of sustainability. And what I want to point out on this slide is in 2020, we announced at Nestlé a net zero roadmap with commitments to deliver net zero in 2050 and to reduce our carbon emissions in 2030 by 50%. So Nestlé is in the forefront of driving sustainability. Next slide shows you that sustainability at Nestlé is one of the key business strategies we have in place. You can see the other pillars here. And I think it's key for a company who wants to drive sustainability in media that needs to be also rooted in the company business strategy. If we move to the next slide, we see that thinking about sustainability, normally it's the product portfolio to reducing our carbon footprint. For example, with science, with technologies, with packaging improvement, recipes and new products. But this is not enough. And therefore, we move to the next slide. We, in our Global Media Council, decided to have sustainability also driving our media strategy. And this is fully embedded in all our global media ways of working and also what we want to do more intensively in the future. So let me share with you what we concretely have done. Next slide shows you a work from our UK teams. They have developed a handbook for sustainable media and identified 4 pillars. Production, aim to lower the carbon footprint on our advertisement with new or different production of the ads themselves. You will see an example in a second. Placement, messaging, and also people and partners. Yeah, it's good to move on. The example I was referring to is Quality Street. You can see it on the next slide. It was in the UK, a full national campaign done with recycled paper and out of home. We were the first advertiser doing it. And you can see that this was not only the paper itself, it was also brought on a more sustainable transportation here in bus stops. Yeah. And it was, as you can see in the subline of the poster, also mentioned that this is recycled paper. This campaign drove over-proportionally engagement and very strong results. And after we saw the results, we concluded in the UK, we will continue with recycled paper in out of home for the long term. Next example is in France. You can see a campaign on Nescafé. Here we tested an energy-efficient programmatic online video campaign where our creative teams worked hand in hand with the media teams. We reduced the carbon emissions by 46%, and the campaign energy reduction was 47%. So this was done with a tool called Impact Plus that could measure the optimization of energy and carbon. In creative, we reduced to mono sound and to lower compression rates. In media, we overpressured the targeting in Wi-Fi and in desktop. And we also chose certain day parts in Fridays to Mondays where the energy was lower that was consumed by our campaigns. Third example is on the next slide from Nespresso. We used a partner, Good Loop, with a very innovative format to drive sustainability in this campaign. I hope the video works, so let's try to press it. Is it moving? Okay, you can see here the sustainability message, yeah? And then at the end of this advertisement, the user could choose between 3 different donation platforms. And then, for example, here, the waste aid was chosen. And then there was a commitment of Nespresso to donate let's say, on behalf of this user. So as you can see, we donated around 25,000 pounds. This campaign was measured also on engagement, on trust, on ad recall, on the key messages, and we found a real strong outcome through this interaction within the ad. So also very promising example that I wanted to share with you. My last example is on the next slide. It's in the UK again. It's on KitKat. KitKat was optimizing a huge campaign. You can see down at this box, 1.6 million pounds media plan. Yeah, it is a multi-channel media plan, was optimizing the carbon emission with a tool called Alice. Alice is a tool that's owned by our advertising and media agency Publicis. We can use Alice already in more than 60 markets. And what we could see is this activation of optimization of the carbon emissions in this campaign was bringing us almost to a 0 emission. Yeah, we had to offset, as you can see, only 460 pounds. Yeah, that's a really very low percentage of the whole campaign. And this was also a very promising result to us that we are able to save CO2 emissions in this campaign. So let me come to my final slides and conclude. So what is next at Nestlé? Sure, we want to first have a focus on the consumer and leverage audience first thinking and create relevant consumer experiences. Secondly, we will continue to push for responsibility and transparency within the advertising industry. And last but not least, we want to further explore sustainability, position media as a contributor to our carbon net zero roadmap, and testing more carbon tracking across the key markets. So next slide, I want to conclude the whole session on sustainability. the global media community is jointly driving engaging brand experience through media communication to accelerate business growth and developing a more sustainable and responsible advertising ecosystem is a key initiative and ambition for us. Last slides, if you help me here, is next one, to motivate everyone in the call to join us with our ambition to engage consumers, to accelerate growth, to drive sustainability at Nestlé. And with this, I hope I could deliver on your expectations, and yeah, hand back to you, and let's have a bit of Q&A if we can.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you for sharing with us on how we can be sustainable through marketing at two very opposite sides of the world, I would say, but we definitely got to see how connected they actually are. So we'll start off straight away. The first question we have here is that, what has been your greatest challenge in implementing digital sustainability in areas that still rely heavily on traditional media?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a good question. So I would say, firstly, our sustainability agenda goes beyond digital. As you saw, for example, the out of home, this is really also traditional. So I would encourage all our teams to look on all media where they can drive the most sustainable media plans. At the end, if I think a bit more long term, I can imagine that this question on sustainability gets more importance in the selection of the channel and the selection of the individual platform or publisher. So this is my vision on that one.
Thank you. Next question is, hi, Tina. How do we make sure that we are making optimal investments for the business development? How do we measure where the ceiling of the ROI is?
Yeah, Diego, thank you for the question, and nice to have you here. Diego, the ROI is a key criteria for our campaigns. We want to ensure that not only the ROI is the only matrix. Yeah, we at Nestlé normally at the campaign level have multiple metrics we are driving. One can be the ROI, if the ROI is the key objective. Another one, for example, could be awareness. Yeah, we have some campaigns where we want to drive, for example, the example on Klim is an example where we want to drive also the awareness for a problem, for a solution. Yeah, and here we need to measure more on awareness and consideration. We have also measurement in place where we want to see if the ad recall is, let's say, strong, and if it's strong enough on the investment we put behind the campaign. And we have also campaigns where we closely track which people we have reached. Are these the right people we want to bring into our, let's say, brand ecosystem? Yeah, and also, could we generate first-party data with these campaigns? So to conclude, we measure different criteria. The criteria are different by campaign. If the ROI is the most important, I personally believe there is a ceiling. Yeah, we have ROIs that are really strong. For example, in our US Purina business, here you can target closely to cat and dog owners. You can optimize, you can understand, you can drive your campaigns on ROI very strongly. But this is not the case everywhere. And here we need to be very conscious on the campaign objectives, on the potential for the brand, and also for measuring the correct outcomes, for example, also against the competition that is also at the same time active in the market.
Thank you, Tina. I think that hopefully, Diego, you find that response from Tina answers your question. I think the next one is absolutely relevant and will be very interesting for you. Have any of our media marketing campaigns been focused on consumers who are differently abled? Have your communication been accessible on the web? I think that obviously goes in hand with sustainability, right? Differently able as well.
Yeah, this is a very important topic too. Yeah, at Nestlé, we have started in some countries to drive initiatives for different audiences that are either old or that have disabilities or that are in special audiences that have to be taken care of differently. I must say the most let's say familiar setup that I have seen is in the US, where we try to reach different audiences, like, for example, Hispanic audiences, or also veterans from their, let's say, military. And here you can imagine that also special enablements need to be taken, language need to be changed, creatives need to be changed, accessibility need to be checked. Yeah. All in all, I must say it's a topic that's in our hearts. However, there is a lot to do more. Yeah, we are not at the ceiling here. Yeah, I would say we are more at the entry point as an industry and also on our marketing campaigns.
I absolutely agree with you, Tina. I think Nestle always is trying to do our best. We'll start here, but that doesn't mean, we start and finish there. We're always there to try to do better.
Yes.
Okay. The next question is, how does no cookies approach to gather consumer data without violating any data or consumer privacy policy?
Yeah, this is a very good question. And I must say, what we have put in place is a test and learn roadmap together with my colleagues here in global marketing of the data and audiences team. It is a clear roadmap that is testing and learning with less or no cookie. For example, with our partner Google, but we have also another partner, Teats, that are both trying to overcome the cookie reliance. First is how we can approach in their platforms without cookies, yeah, or with less cookies. Secondly, how are the results if we apply campaigns, yeah, like that, against campaigns that are run with cookie today? So we want to understand the impact and compare. And also we want to understand new ways of targeting or of identity concepts. And this is very different by market. So in the EU, you have different concepts than in the US or in Asia. All in all, I would say this cookieless roadmap is putting privacy at the heart. We at Nestlé, we are very sensitive, not violating against any privacy laws or any privacy restrictions. We even want to be one step ahead of that. And here, if you have knowledge, if you have, experience, we are more than happy to connect and also to learn from each other. As you saw, also Google has started the approach, but then has also communicated an extension in their platform in the implementation. So we see it is not a easy way for the industry to move away from cookies without damaging the experience of the individual. Yeah, I think we cannot forget that cookies also ensure the user experience. If I'm interested in a special, let's say, special cosmetic, I can be glad that I receive advertisement on those topics. What I, as a consumer, don't want is that I get overwhelmed with advertisements and retargeting, that I try to get rid of advertisement, and that I don't appreciate this experience any longer. So I think here, we as an advertiser, we need to build a strong point of view, but also to be very conscious of our users' needs. And Nestlé is clearly at the forefront. And my colleague in my neighbor team, Jamie, he's the expert, and I'm sure he's driving this to a highest standard level for us jointly with our teams, agencies, and partners.
Thank you, Tina. I think there's another question relating to traditional media, but I think this one's more about how do you leverage digital media alongside traditional media to reach communities who aren't as technologically advanced? Is this one of your options when it comes to advertising and media?
Yes, so it's also a very good question. I see plenty of cross-screen campaigns. So we have understanding and learning that it's especially very effective and efficient to combine traditional media, for example, in TV, with digital media, for example, on video, for example, on YouTube. Those kind of mixed campaigns are very broadly in place. This is exactly what we want to do, to optimize these kind of channels jointly. And secondly, the point you make here is on communities who aren't so advanced from their media consumption. This is exactly what we want our media planners and our marketing teams to understand. If I have to advertise, let's say, to people that are less advanced and their media consumption is mainly, let's say, on TV and desktop, this is exactly what I then need, a combined TV and desktop planning, and I can choose it in the local media planning to the fullest, So there is no doubt traditional media still have a role to play. They are very efficient when it comes to mass and reach audiences that we have in many of our countries. They are really safe, most of them, because I know the environment where I put my ad. They are reliable because I know from the past how they work, and last but not least, I can optimize against my key objectives.
Thank you for that, Tina. I think that's definitely a very introspective way to know how we're leveraging those cross screens that you mentioned. I think this is another really good one. What do you concentrate when you're giving out ads, right? Whether it's on TV or digital, what is the main focus of that reach out? Is it to drive sales or is it to drive brand visibility?
Yeah, is an important question. What is the objective of the campaigns? Most of our campaigns that I see at Nestlé are wanting to drive consideration for a specific brand or consideration for a specific product, a new flavor, for example. To measure that, we have tracking in place. It can be ad tracking, impact tracking, provided by the different players like Kantar, Ipsos, GfK. So different, let's say, ad impact trackings are in place to measure this one. Secondly, we have also plenty of campaigns that want to drive performance. Performance means sales, can also be a special action, can be the interest in a product detail page on our website, for example. So here we have different other measures in place. However, it really sits on each and every campaign level to clearly define the right goal and then to be really focused driving this goal throughout the whole campaign with a measurement that you need to put in place.
Thank you, Tina. I think that's all the time we have for the questions and answer. So I really, really appreciate your time and your presentation to talk with us about this topic. Very happily, this is the final session we have for day 1 of Nest Level. So it's wonderful to have you as our closing session. I would like to thank everybody for attending Nest Level for today, but don't forget to join the next session tomorrow, which is with another fireside chat with our Nestlé Digital Warriors, where you can ask them what it's like to work, grow, and make an impact in e-commerce, digital marketing in Nestlé. You definitely don't want to miss this one, so make sure you add your session to your calendar. Don't worry, if you want to check out what sessions are tomorrow, you can go on the agenda page and have a look. And if you missed out on any of the sessions today, don't worry, all the recordings will be uploaded onto the site later on. With that, I will bid you all goodbye, and I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, don't forget to share your insights and what you learned about from Nest Level today on LinkedIn, and don't forget to use the hashtag NestLevel 2022. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.